Hello, my name is Lori Gill. I'm the founder and clinical director of the Attachment and Trauma Treatment Center for Healing. One of the things we were talking about in a recent consultation group were some of the myths and challenges around doing trauma specific work and court based systems. Or people who are going through testifying. And sometimes what happens is there's the idea that if we've experienced trauma, we shouldn't do counseling because if we do counseling, it might impact our testimony or our credibility as a witness. And I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about trauma and memory and what we understand about trauma and memory and that process. This is something that I do a whole 2-day training on, paired with the LAMP. So there's a LAMP training that is designed specifically for law enforcement advocates, mental health, and prosecutors to help them understand the neurology of sexual assault. And I've paired in our core training to add that second day. So it'll be a Cliff Notes version of what we talk about, and some of you may have taken that training. But one of the things that we talk about is kind of the core concept that when we look at trauma, we understand that trauma disrupts the integrative capacity of the brain. So typically, memories have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and they're put away in proper space and time. That's that memory consolidation process. With trauma, however, because it supersedes the overwhelm, the terror, the fear, supersedes our regular brain process and memory consolidation process. We actually have no clear beginning, middle, and end quite often. And furthermore, we have what are called central and peripheral details. So central details tend to be, whatever my brain is hyper attuning to in that moment to try to stay alive. The brain's first and foremost job is make sure the body survives, and that's such a simplistic way, but complex way to understand what is, well, a simplistic way to understand a complex set of functions that are happening, or a cascade of functions that are happening. So in the moment when there's a trauma, a lot of times what interviewers and investigators are looking for are what we would consider peripheral details. Now, to you and I, from the outside trying to gather information, it sounds like really good logical information to know, like what the person looked like, or how long this went on for, where we were, what the sequence of events were. But those are largely peripheral details. And here's why. Because in the moment when a trauma is occurring, remember the brain's first and foremost job is make sure the body survives. So the brain is attuning to these details that are considered to be central to survival. Now, quite often those details, as Jim Hopper says, will be burned into our memory, right? But they're like fragments, little islands of memory that are there. And those central details tend, by the way, not to fade with time. Those central details tend to be quite readily available. And I will say that one of the things about our integrative trauma and attachment treatment model is that we're working with those central details, and they pop up. They pop up quickly. People don't have to often search for those. They're there because that's what got really, really hyper encoded into the brain at the time of the trauma. Peripheral details, however, tend to be filtered out. So, if my brain determines that the safest thing for me to do in this moment is to freeze, or to go into tonic immobility or tonic collapse, or to dissociate, the brain is going to respond, the brain and body are going to respond how they need to inhibit threat or to reduce the likelihood of death or serious harm. But what that means is, my eyes might fixate away from what is happening. So I might not be able to tell you what somebody looks like. I might not be able to tell you what the surroundings look like, apart from what my brain was centrally attuning to in that moment.